Now this car right next to me, you actually can't get brand new anymore, but that doesn't mean it's not a great car nonetheless. So we're gonna be looking at it and deciding whether or not they should have kept this going, maybe given it a refresh, or if it was perfect to die out the way it was. My name's Jason and you're watching Got an X. The Lincoln Continental we have here today is going to be the Reserve trim level, which I think is a fantastic trim. It has a bunch of bells and whistles. But before we get to any of that, we need to talk about the looks up front. And I personally do like what Lincoln does. I mean, a lot of the Lincoln ones have these massive steel grills up here that I think look really, really good. I personally like the wide design put on. I love the Lincoln logo. The cross right there is fantastic. And I really do think it does a great job putting a prowess on this vehicle. And I think that carries throughout most of Lincoln's lineup, so it's not really special to this one in particular, but it's still something to mention. The headlights here are pretty fantastic. I also like the design of them. They're kind of narrow. They're a little sharper. This feels like an aggressive thing. For those of you who do not know, Lincoln is going to be Ford's luxury brand, but this doesn't really feel like a Ford to me. I really think Lincoln has made this car their own, and it really stands as its own vehicle. Now let's move underneath the hood, and we're going to see some of the power specs. Now the engine in this bad boy is that good old-fashioned true American V6. It's a 2.7 liter V6 engine that creates 335 horsepower and I believe 380 pound-feet of torque, which is a pretty respectable amount of horsepower and torque for a sedan this size. I personally am a big fan of the driving experience in this car, which we'll get to later, but the engine doesn't feel like it's lagging. I think that is something that you can kind of get mixed up with some of these other cars where they'll skimp on the engines for these sedans and you'll kind of feel it pushing and begging for power. This one doesn't do that, and that is amazing for the Lincoln. Now the side of the Lincoln is honestly pretty standard. I don't think there's anything spectacular. There are a few things I want to touch on though. You have some nice badging on the side that lets you know what it is being the Continental. And you also do get these door handles, which aren't my favorite. I don't really like when cars do this. This is a personal preference, but it's not a real door handle. When you squeeze, it's a little button that you press on the back that pops the door open. And personally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan. But now moving on to the back, there is a lot to like here. I love the design. The giant light bar through the center is a fantastic choice, and it really does kind of give the Lincoln a bit more of a unique look from behind, and I really think that's great. On top of that, you have the standard taillights, but the one thing I do want to touch on is the cargo space back here, which is pretty solid. You have 16.7 cubic feet of cargo space, which isn't the best. I mean, you are in a sedan, you are going to get less cargo space, but overall I think it's good for what it does. I think it's pretty on par with some of its competitors. It doesn't stand out as something crazy, but it is pretty solid, and I think that's something that I'm noticing about this car in general, is there's just a lot of solid things about it. Now on the inside of the Lincoln, it does get pretty nice. I personally think the Lincoln Continental is a pretty solid interior. I feel like it's modern enough for being a 2020. I feel like there's a few things that would have been great to have in a refresh, like a better screen up here, but overall it's pretty solid inside of here. First thing I want to touch on is you have the fully digital gauge cluster, which looks fantastic, as well as you have a heads-up display in this trim level that looks honestly like one of the best heads-up displays I've seen. It's kind of wide. It shows so much on there. It's like your entire dash is just up there, and I think that's better. A lot of them just show you the miles per hour you're going, and that's kind of about it. But I'm not really the biggest fan of that, but this I absolutely love. Now, some of the things we're going to touch on that are going to be positives are you do have heated and cooled seats, always a blessing, but these seats don't just stop there. They also can massage you. You can control that right here on the door, which I really do think is pretty great. I mean, I keep going back on this. You know, I was always against massaging seats at first, but they just grow on me. This is just such a nice little feature to have, and they do a great job. So much customization available in these seats. On top of that, you do have a ample amount of storage space spread throughout here. You have this one right here, where I believe you could probably get a wireless charger. This one does not come with it, which is a little bit of a downside, but hey, who really cares? Now, some of the cons we're going to be talking about in here. First and foremost is this infotainment screen itself. This one did not get Sync 4. This one does not come with CarPlay. This one has kind of fumbled the bag a little bit here with everything so great throughout here with this screen, your center infotainment right here being so subpar. It's a little bit annoying. But another annoying thing, and this is something that I don't get about Lincoln, is this stupid shifter, man. Why is it vertical right here? Why do I have to press buttons? Like, it's just stupid. I mean, in some of the other Lincolns, they have piano keys where you click like this, and they're also stupid, but at least it's not like this. This one's ridiculous. I'm not a fan of that. This is personal preference. If you like this, good for you. That's a good car otherwise, but that pisses me off. Other than that, the interior here is comfy. It's nice. These seats are grippy, which is a weird way to put it, but they are. They kind of cuddle you and hold you close, and it's kind of weird, but I'm not going to say I don't like it. Who doesn't like being cuddled every once in a while? Overall, I think the interior is pretty great, and I'm not opposed to sitting in it. I really do like being in this car, and there are just a few things, like I mentioned before, that aren't perfect. Now, driving the Lincoln is actually going to be one of my favorite parts about this car, which is great because you want a car that you're going to enjoy driving. Now, the acceleration in here is pretty dang solid. I mean, we talked about the engine inside this thing, this 6-cylinder, 2.7 liter engine, and I really do think it's a perfect fit for the car. I never feel that drag, and it just kind of keeps up really nicely. The steering is tight. It's pretty good. The lane keeping assist that this comes with is also pretty solid and spot on. It's not too aggressive, which is kind of nice. I always worry some of these cars, they are so demanding on how close you have to be in the lane, or they use their sensors and it's a little wonky, and it's just really annoying to drive with. This one is not bad at all. The heads-up display is fantastic, like I said before, but overall, just driving it is a smooth, solid, and great experience. I feel safe, I feel comfortable, and it really is just a solid drive. And I'm kind of sad that they didn't end up doing a refresh, because this car is really, really, really good in my opinion. The American luxury, this is definitely a great standard for it to have. Well, this is all we're going to be able to get for the Lincoln Continental, but that doesn't mean it's not a viable option. There are probably not going to be any more of these, and if they do bring it back, it might be electric, which, woo, we love electric cars. Watch Evo's video about why he hates them, actually. But this one right here is fantastic for what it is. I think it does hit a little bit of pricier points, but that does come equipped with a bunch of different features, and I do think it's a solid recommendation, and I personally am a big fan of it. If you guys like it, let us know in the comments below, or if you think that the other luxury cars are just better, let us know that too. I'm really curious what you guys are thinking. If you guys like the video, leave a like, and we will see you in the next one.